Chers auditeurs,
Dear listeners,
bonjour.
welcome to Comme d'Archi Podcast Season 6.
Saison 6, dans le monde fascinant des architectes.
And in the architectural projects.
Je suis Anne-Charlotte Deponte, passionnée d'architecture et docteur des universités en histoire de l'archi.
I am one of the spokespersons of Anne-Charlotte, who is a PhD in architecture history.
Merci
Thank you
d'être avec moi aujourd'hui.
to be with us today.
Et
And
maintenant,
now,
lundi en français, place au talent.
and Wednesday, let's talk projects. In English, of course.
Bienvenue dans Comme d'Archi.
Hello everyone, hello Pierre-Marie Auffret.
Hello.
Thank you for being with us today. You are architect and urban planner. In 2 or 3 sentences, could you introduce us to your architectural practice?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. So my name is Pierre-Marie Auffret. I founded Atelier Isla 5 years ago. And before, I have been working during like 10 or 12 years in 2 or 3 big offices in Paris in architecture and urban planning. But perhaps I can tell you more about when I was younger. I studied in Nantes. I did an Erasmus program in Barcelona, where I met a lot of Latin American architects that gave me an opportunity to visit them and to be interested in Latin American cities. That was like a totally new context for me, and that's why also I realized that I didn't have the same tools to conceive the spaces in Latin America, and so I wanted after those travels to work there, to study a bit more this context of Latin American cities, and oriented my career in urban studies, in urban design. And so I've been working 12 years with Bernard Eichen, and then after to
A famous architect
famous architect in France, and also with François Leclerc, another big one, big offices of 50 or 100 people working there, in very...
With a lot of very amazing projects.
Yes, I was very lucky to work in very good, great urban projects, prestigious projects. And then after I wanted to work by my own, and so I decided to create Atelier Isla, still working on the urban scale, but more focused on what is happening on the city at eye level, like said Jan Gell, trying to conceive, still conceiving and thinking in the urban scale, but very be attentive and focused of what is happening on the ground floor, make sure that all what is happening at the eye level is giving something comfortable for the pedestrian, for the inhabitants of a district, and make sure that every new building, every new district is working well, is giving like helping or contributing to the quality of life for the inhabitants in this district. And so I had to adapt my tools also. It's not only about master planning or designing the blocks, but really working deeply with the users. And sometimes users are inhabitants, or perhaps they are the people who will really inhabit the spaces we design. And so I discovered like a new way of conceiving by listening carefully to those people and trying to adapt as much as possible the way we design spaces in order to really answer to the need of those people. And that was very new for me to work in that way.
Okay. And now can you tell us about your projects?
Yes. Perhaps I can tell you about experiences, like 3 or 4 experiences in the city of Romainville, in the suburbs of Paris, in the Grand Paris. I've been working in projects of urban agriculture. This is a political issue for the city of Romainville to reintroduce urban agriculture inside of the city. And so they employed some people, some farmers, to produce vegetables inside of the city and to sell it to the people, oriented mainly to the for the people living in social housing. So that was the idea, to have very good quality of vegetables, but very cheap, in order to get very good food to people that in general are not cannot buy because it's too expensive. And so the idea was how to, with the food, and with my tools of urban and architect, try to make spaces and co-conceive those spaces with the inhabitants of the district. And so we had first garden. It's jardin casse-dalle. It's impossible to translate it. It's a jeu de mots game. It was a mineral square. The idea was to transform it into a garden. And so we have been working with Wagon Landscaping designers to depave the ground and trying to plant trees and vegetables. And today it's a really nice place to go for the inhabitants in the center to discover there are chickens and vegetables, and it's a place where a lot of things happen. The city is programming a lot of events in this place, which is at the beginning just a productive farm inside of the city.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Another one, perhaps?
Yes, the last one is interesting too. Always, if I still talk about Romainville, it is a social building where a lot of green areas are divided by fences and not accessible to inhabitants.
Where?
In Romainville too. In another district of I have four projects in Romainville, and the last one is, and it is the case in many occasions, they have spaces conceived on the 70s with a lot of open green areas, but during the time with problems of drugs or insecurity, they cut the spaces with fences, so no one can go there. And today the buyer, the owner of the social housing, they are asking perhaps we could open those gardens to the inhabitants, but what would be the rules? What could we do on those spaces in order to do not have drug addicts or violence inside? And so that's a very good moment of the history that everybody realized that there are green spaces without use. How can we use it to also have adapt to the climate change and things like this? And working with food, it's a very good way to work with the inhabitants, because everybody wants have something to say about food. And sometimes we have some people, they told us that they were born in Turkey, for example, and then they were very used to urban agriculture or agriculture in their past. And today it's an opportunity for them to plant vegetables and then after transform it and make a soup and blah, blah, blah. And that was a very good way to approach those people and work with them in order to transform together those spaces. And so there are perhaps little details in comparison of the huge projects I've been involved when I was younger, but then today I really feel
yes, but you have a lot of work because it's a way for the problem of drugs. Mm-hmm. It's in a very interesting way, and
yes,
it's the actuality in France.
Yes,
actually,
and that's difficult because, of course, it's the idea to defend that more good use, people having fun, children playing on the place, it will create human presence and eyes to make sure that everything is going okay. And this is the idea that more use will stop the bad use. I don't know how to say mauvais usage. And this is the very old idea of Jane Jacob in the 70s, that more eyes on the street is the best way to have security also. Instead of putting CCTV cameras everywhere, just put more people and then everything is going to be okay. Yes. But it's hard to defend because many people, they say, no, we just cut it, and if there isn't anybody, they won't have any problem. The idea is to try to convince them to do it differently.
Yes. It's an homeopathic way.
Yes. Yes. And some people think it's not working. So we have to always demonstrate that we will try. Perhaps it will not work. And perhaps we have to wait or try a second time. But
it's a big problem. So the third project in Romainville.
Yes. Another one. Well, I mixed a bit the experiences in Romainville because we go bigger and bigger. But the other one, that could be a nice idea. It's also with the city of Romainville, that was to create a new orchard. And we made a votation for the inhabitants in order to decide what kind of trees they could plant in this new district. It is in the Cité Gagarine that was in the head of the people of Romainville. It was like a dangerous place where drugs, insecurity. And we have been working with the grandmothers and the teenagers. They really want to change the image of this.
Of Gagarine district, yes.
Yeah. It was a bit... and so they had like emergency need of changing the idea because the people of there, they are very proud of Lille and they love their district. And the idea was with food and urban farming and urban agriculture to change the image, make it beautiful, and to see people gardening, it's a presence. And we arrived with this idea of urban agriculture, and they say, oh, it's okay, but perhaps this is something for the new Bobo, but I'm not sure that you are really answering to our need. What we need is a place for our teenagers to make sport and leisure. And we were, but we have special money only to do green things and not sport things. And so that was funny because our good idea wasn't answering to a necessity. And so we had to work a lot to make a mix between the proposal that we had and the money we had for a specific program. We had to make an hybrid plan between leisure, agriculture, and with the mother. We have been working with a lot of mothers, and we said, okay, we're sorry, you are talking about teenagers, but there are no teenagers in our meetings. And so they said, okay, next time, be on time, we will ask our teenagers to come. And we arrived, and they told us, first, we have 10 questions. Who are you? Why are you interested in my district? Can we trust you? Who tell me that you will not disappear in 2 months and telling me that you will change everything? And after the 10 answers, they say, okay, now we can listen to you. What is your problem? And then we have been working with the old, the young, and then after the bobo, and then the people living there and working together. And the final point of this project was also a program of the ground floors with public activities around the community kitchen. And because they told us that their kitchens were very small in their buildings, and they couldn't cook together. And when there is a party or if they want to cook for an event. And so the idea was to co-design a public space on the ground floor, on the kitchen, and to work with them during many sessions with them in order to say if it's only for fun or perhaps it could be a professional project for some people to start their career into food. And perhaps they can rent this studio, but he could rent the kitchen in the afternoon in order to produce something and then to start an economy about food. And we started to talk about the typical food of this country, and what was the things in common that all those people living in their district. And so we programmed after a big party of the bread with the baker of the place to also have a public oven. That was a point in common between all those communities. And a lot of different programs every time that was something about food. And really way to mix the people and to program precisely ground floors and public spaces. And I invite you to go to visit because it's under construction. Part of the public spaces are being constructed. So we still don't know if it will work or not because uses are not here, but they will appear very soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. Something else?
No, thank you very much for the invitation.
So, thank you very much to you. Bye-bye, everyone, and see you next Wednesday for New Comme d'Archi in English. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, and thanks to the sound engineer who was collaborating with us today. Don't forget to tune in to our previews on Instagram at Comme d'Archi Podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, don't hesitate to promote it by giving it 5 stars and a little comment on Apple Podcast or on your favorite podcast platform. And above all, subscribe to listen to all of our episodes for free. See you soon, and until then, take care of yourself.